Are you ready to become the balanced leader you are destined to become? Then stay right here. Welcome to today's Balanced Leader, where we empower today's leader to be the best that you can be, both in your professional and personal life. I'm your host, Caroline Baird, and I've explored and believe the intersection of wellness and leadership are key to finding the balance you are craving as a leader. This is the show where we focus on leadership and the importance of maintaining balance in today's fast-paced and constantly changing world. We talk about topics related to leadership, from communication and team building to personal development and finding balance during challenging times. We will also hear from inspiring guests who have achieved success in their fields and have valuable insights to share about their leadership journeys and on what it takes to be a successful leader. But this podcast isn't just about leadership, it's also about wellness too. Taking care of your mind, body, and spirit is essential to becoming a successful leader, and you'll get tips and strategies for living a healthy, balanced life, from managing burnout and improving mental health, to finding ways to reset and reground during a typical day at work so that you can achieve your goals. So whether you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, or just someone looking to improve your leadership skills, this podcast is for you. Are you ready? Well, let's get going. Hello, and welcome to another episode of today's Balanced Leader. Today, I'm super excited to have a dear friend of mine join us who is an inspiration to many women, and I hope she will be for you as well. Lisa Ann is a digital marketing expert. She's also a podcast host and the founder of Stock Media, and now a new mama as well. So from starting from a clueless entrepreneur struggling to find paying clients, she has transformed herself into this powerhouse, investing over $3.5 million in ads to generate over 1.5 million leads online. So whether you're an entrepreneur or work for business leaders, and that includes being a leader of yourself, you are going to get some great advice in this edition of today's Balanced Leader. Lisa's journey is a testament to the power of determination and resilience and strategic thinking in achieving remarkable success in the digital marketing landscape. Through her expertise and experiences, she offers invaluable insights and practical strategies that she's going to get to share with us today. And so let's listen to Lisa's story and the wisdom that she has for us. Hello, Lisa. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much. That was so kind of you, all of that you added in.
Of course, my pleasure. You are an inspiration. I mean, I've watched you as I started my entrepreneur experience, leaving the corporate world, and certainly have leaned on you a lot to just brainstorm with you and ask questions around what does it take to be a successful entrepreneur. But I'd love for you to share a little bit about your story and just kind of where you're at and what you've learned over the years.
Absolutely. So, hello, everyone, and thank you, Caroline, for letting me be a part of your podcast. I greatly appreciate it. My story, well, I can go back until I was actually 22. That's actually when I stepped into entrepreneurship, or where I even considered jumping into being an entrepreneur. I have always been that go-getter type of individual, whether that was in high school or university or at my corporate job or even now within my business. And I never really actually thought that I would step into owning my own business. But as I was actually climbing the corporate ladder really quickly, I realized that the one thing that I needed in my life was freedom. And what was the best way to do that or achieve that is working online. So when I was 23 years old, I quit my corporate job and I jumped into building a business 100% from my laptop. I was able to travel the world. I've traveled to over 26 different countries. I was able to earn a living enough to cover my car bills and the little things that I was doing at this age. And over that journey, I've gone through a few ups and downs, to be completely honest with you. There's always the good of the entrepreneurships and the bad, absolutely. But it has really taught me, how do you actually stay resilient within your life, but how do you actually keep on going through all the hardships? So over the last 8.5 years, I have been running a digital marketing agency, Stock Media, and we help entrepreneurs scale their business by really leveraging two things: social media and automation techniques. Going back to the whole freedom aspect of it, the automation is a really, really big thing for me and something that I love to promote to everyone. When you can build systems and processes within your business, you can ultimately wake up every single day and live the life that you want to live. And that's my ultimate goal for everyone, is to be able to achieve the success that they want to achieve.
And I love that, Lisa. We talk about everything we do is for freedom, right? So we want to live our life. We talk about what is it, why we go to work every day? What is it that we want out of life? How do we get to enjoy all the things that we want to experience? And so just having a paying job isn't necessarily how you're going to do it. You actually have to put some intention behind what that looks like, right? So having a goal set up. And certainly the one thing in my entrepreneur experience, and I think I took it for granted in my corporate experience, was having those systems in place, because without those systems, things come to a grinding halt if you aren't set up to have that continuity while you decide to take a vacation. So maybe tell us a little bit about how, from a corporate lens and an entrepreneur lens, how can you leverage that? What are some of the things that you've learned around making sure you've got systems in place?
And a system could be in the corporate world, could be in the entrepreneur world. It could also just be in your everyday life as well. Having systems essentially is going to allow you to take something that you know is already that's working, and then you're going to systemize it so that it can be duplicatable. And so again, whether that is a personal goal or a business goal, it does not matter. As long as you have a proven system, you can actually build this into a system. So when I look at systems within my agency, we're talking about systems that are going to be generating leads for your company so that you can be having this pipeline of consistent new clients or prospects coming in. How do you essentially automate any tedious tasks that you're doing over and over again? So, for example, how many times do you get an email of the same question just from different people? So most people are going to spend, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes, I don't care. They're going to spend some time typing out that exact same answer over and over and over again. So when you have a system in place, and it could just be this small, simple email that is automatically going to send out for you, it's just a task that you've taken off your plate. And as you grow, whether that is in your corporate job or life or business, as you grow, these tasks are just piling on and piling on and piling on. And if you don't, one, have a team to delegate to, or you're not a good delegator in general, or you don't have systems in place, that is when you're going to start to really experience burnout, or you're not going to get things done as fastly or as quickly as you want them to get done.
Yes, and that's definitely, to the listener, something that Lisa and her colleagues have taught me, is around having systems in place. Because if you think you can do it all, you can't do it all in your own business and serve and be the CEO of your company, right? There
Mm-hmm.
are going to be tasks you can't get rid of, absolutely. But just like in the corporate world, we can't do it all. So we have to have goals and objectives, whether you're working for yourself or you're working for somebody else, and then processes to put them in place. Because as an entrepreneur, you may not have a large team behind you, especially out of the gate, to support you and to be able to hand off a lot of the tedious tasks, if you will. So you may end up having to do them yourself.
Well, especially in the beginning, like, I mean, you've definitely experienced it yourself. It's like when you're starting a business, you have to wear all the hats within your business. You have to be the accountant, the marketer, the salesperson, the customer relations. Like, you have to do everything. So at a certain point, there's going to be tasks that you don't like to do. And that's just the nature of it. But there's also going to be tasks that you love to do. So, in my opinion, if you can get rid of the tasks that you don't want to do every single day by having a system that either someone else could follow or you can automate, that's going to allow you to actually enjoy your days even more. Which at the end of the day, we wake up and we do the same things over and over. Yes, it's our job, but if you're not loving what you're doing, what is the point of doing it?
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I don't disagree with that. So Lisa, tell us a little bit too. I love the thought that, you're this powerhouse of a business person. You've started at a very young age. You've built your own business. And then, I was joking with Lisa before we started this podcast that I stalk her on social media. So I get to see all the things that Lisa does, because Lisa works out, Lisa goes for walks, Lisa enjoys her time traveling, going skiing in the winter, boating in the summer, and she's a new mom. So how do you manage to find that balance? Because I think a lot of people, especially in this day, find it really tough to find that balance, or feel that if I give in one area of my life, something else is going to suffer.
So it's definitely easier said than done for sure. And I like to look at it as you have seasons of life. You're going to have a season where you're going to be really busy within your business or within your job, but then you're going to have a season when things are a little bit more calm and you can focus more on your hobbies, let's say. For me, I have my non-negotiables. Every single day, I'm going to wake up and go to the gym. That is just what I do. I also need to spend some time with my daughter, and I have the ability, like I work from home, so she's at home with me. So I have the ability to hang out with her, but I need to be able to truly spend some time where I'm fully present. So that's another non negotiable. And the third one is really giving it my all with my clients in my business. When you have these non negotiables set up, what I like to do is actually schedule them into my calendar. So I am a very type A type of personality. I am very structured. I like to have an idea of exactly what is going on within my days or weeks or even months. So I schedule in, when am I actually going to the gym? I schedule in, when am I hanging out with my daughter when I'm not in meetings or have other projects within my business to do? And then same thing, when am I actually working on my business? I'm actually really focused on my business. Now, what I mean by scheduling them in, it's like a doctor's appointment. If you're going to put it into your calendar, hey, I have this doctor's appointment at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, you're going to show up. Same thing with the gym. It's scheduled in. Now, obviously, easier said than done to just kind of let that one go. But I've been working out since I was 14. It's a part of me. And when I feel like I'm strong in the gym, I feel like I'm strong in other aspects of my life. So it kind of trickles into every aspect of my life. But it's have a schedule, have a game plan, know what's important to you, and don't overdo it. That's another thing. I find people want to do everything. There's so many things that I want to do. Reading, for instance, I always say to myself, I'm going to read more. I'm going to do it. I'm going to listen to podcasts more. Like, I'm just going to do it. It's hard to fit everything in. So I've learned to let go of some things that I may want to do more in my life, but it's not necessarily a priority right now. So as soon as you can let go of having to be able to achieve and do everything, it will just make life easier for you.
I love that. And I would say around the non-negotiables, especially as I was transitioning from that corporate world to an entrepreneur, I actually wrote them on my whiteboard for a little bit because those needed to be my focuses. And then I actually took my calendar and was taught by Danielle Laporte around how you focus on your personal life first. Because especially as an entrepreneur, right, we could work 24/7 if we
All
want,
the time.
right? And I know
Yeah.
some corporate people that do that too, so I'm not I'm not discounting them. But you have to go in your calendar and you have to be very deliberate and intentional in what you're putting in your calendar, making sure, to Lisa's point, the non-negotiables that you are not willing to give up, that time with your daughter. And your daughter, the time may be different from day to day, so but making sure that there is that time, that is one of my non-negotiables. It's in my calendar. It may sound funny putting your daughter in your calendar, but it's dedicated time where I'm not going to be taking any client calls at that time. And so I love that because that has been something super important to me. For me, walks in nature have become a non-negotiable because I find I'm clearer. I'm able to service my clients better. I can bring my energy to the podcast. I can do so much more by removing myself, even if it's for 15 minutes, to go out and be in nature and just shut the mind off, and allows you to think differently sometimes and brainstorm differently. So maybe kind of leading into another question around when you think about some setbacks, because life is not perfect. There are going to be days that we even get frustrated. I was talking to Lisa about, life is not always glamorous as social media presents it to be, but maybe share kind of a mistake or a setback that you've encountered in your career and the lesson that you learned from it.
Absolutely. And as you're talking about being outside and walking in nature, it got me thinking, it's like when you can structure your day so that you have the times in between, like your busy standpoint. So let's say like I have back-to-back meetings for 3 hours and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, this is my scheduled time for my daughter. As soon as I disconnect from work for a second and actually I'm present with my daughter, I come back stronger, I come back more productive. But speaking of mistakes, sometimes it doesn't always go as planned. Like, yes, I had my schedule. Yes, like it is color coordinated, it is beautiful, but some days it gets messed up. So whether that is a client project gets messed up in some way, we have to jump on something, or we have to put out a fire somewhere else. Like there's always gonna be things that jumped in and can mess up your schedule or your planned aspects, but it's being okay with letting those kind of shift. But I feel like a big mistake that I did, especially in the beginning with my business, is being a complete yes person to everything. So I am a recovering people pleaser. I'm going to say it that way because it's still something that I'm working on. I am the type of person that I want to achieve everything, not only for myself but for my clients. I want to help, I want to give, I will always be that person that you can fall on, but sometimes that actually falls back on me. So in the beginning of my business, like I said, I was saying yes to everything. I was saying yes to client work. I was saying yes to speaking. I was saying yes to doing collaborations. I was saying yes to even work outside of the scope of work that I was actually providing to my clients, just because I wanted to be there to support people. And yes, I was coming from a good place, but what ended up happening is I basically dug myself this big hole, and it took me years to get myself out of this hole. Like I'm talking like even during COVID time, all I did was work because there couldn't be anything to do. But it's like every single project that I took on just kept piling and piling and piling. And eventually I just couldn't keep up. And so I was working 17, 18-hour days. And this is pre having a baby. So like, I'm going to say not a big deal, but still a big deal. I was working from literally the moment I woke up. I would take an hour to go to the gym and I'd work all day. I wouldn't take a lunch. I wouldn't go for a walk. I wouldn't do anything. I was just, all I'm doing, it's whether I'm sitting on the couch or at my desk, I'm working, and I'll work until 10 or 11 o'clock at night, go to bed and do it over. Being a yes person sometimes comes off as a positive thing, but you need to have boundaries. And I had zero boundaries. So that was probably my biggest mistake, and something that even to this day, I'm still working on really setting some strong boundaries for myself. But it's once you get into that hole and you just keep going and going and going, it's going to take you a lot of energy and time to get out of it. So if you could avoid that by setting some clear expectations and boundaries, even for yourself, even in personal life, like even if it's with friends or family, there's still boundaries to be set. So really, really set those boundaries for yourself.
I too am a recurring people pleaser, and it took me a long time, which is why I do what I do, because I want people to harness their lives at an earlier time than I did so that they can truly bring their gifts to life. Because I feel we all have gifts. And when you're a people pleaser, those gifts just go away. You don't know where they are because you say yes all the time. And I love that. I've actually done a couple of sessions on boundaries. And I think sometimes people think boundaries are simple in that I just say no. They're really not that easy. And you have to be okay. And I think that's where your non-negotiables or your goals become super important, because you have to then look at, well, if it doesn't fit one of these non-negotiables or goals, why am I willing to do this? And really sitting and understanding what that emotion, that feeling, that sensation is. Because until you do that, you don't understand what it's like to truly be a people pleaser. And then you can start to overcome those beliefs and start to feel confident in saying no. And I also teach about, okay, but just because I've said that I'm putting boundaries in place starting next week, it doesn't mean the people around me understand what that means, because I've said yes to them all my life. And so it's not only teaching yourself, it's teaching others, and that can be huge. So I can imagine running your own business. So now you've realized that I need to set boundaries for myself, but all these people that I've said yes to are going to be, well, yes, Lisa, that's great, but that's for somebody else, right? That's not for me.
Literally, literally. It's funny
So
because there's a client that I work with, and she sets really strong boundaries for her business. Like from a calendar perspective, if you haven't had a certain qualification or something, like I'm not even talking to you type of situation, or if I'm jumping on the call with you, it's only for 15 minutes, that's it. And I'm so glad that she does that. But then when I shifted my calendar because I had a baby and I said, hey, I only have half an hour, not an hour like we typically do, it was a big deal. And it's like, some people are going to take it hard, but it's something that I had to just be like, you know what, this is kind of, it's nothing against you. It's not because I don't care about you. It's not because I don't want to work with you. It's nothing like that. It's just, I had to make some shift just like you've done in your business. And that's the way that it goes. And going back to the whole systems, systems. Does that make sense?
It
Going
does.
back to the whole systems, um, calendars, booking calendars. So whether you're in corporate or in a business, if you can have a booking calendar that you can use where you can just send a link to someone saying, hey, here's my schedule, book in a date and time that works best for you. That is one of the easiest ways that I found to have that boundary from like a call time perspective, because they can see right on the calendar it's booked for 30 minutes and that's it, or whatever the time is for you. But also it avoids you having to go back and forth. Hey, are you available Tuesday? No. What about Wednesday? No, I'm not. What about 2 weeks from now? Like those conversations, they don't have to happen anymore when you have this system in place for you. But also something that's helped me from a boundary standpoint.
Used to do that in the corporate world, coming from the HR lens. I made sure my calendar was always up to date. And so when somebody would walk into my office impromptu and need me, when I started setting up boundaries, I would ask the question of, is it urgent or is it something that we can chat about later because I am doing X? My calendar is up to date. Feel free to grab some time, and then I will be able to give you 100% of my attention as opposed to the next 5 minutes while I'm thinking about what it is that I'm working on. And I
Mm-hmm.
think when you're honest with people like that, they kind of go, oh, okay, perfect. You know what? It can wait till later today, tomorrow, next week, whatever, and book accordingly. I also found in a corporate world, especially as a leader, it was a beautiful opportunity for people to start to solve for themselves because they came up with the solution on their own. They didn't really need you after all, or
Mm-hmm.
they just said, hey, I had a thought and this is how I'm thinking of handling it. Do you agree? Do you have any suggestions? Which is beautiful because I think we are too quick as humans when we work, especially in North America, at the fast pace that we do. It's just easier to ask somebody else than actually to put any thought into it.
Literally, I'm laughing because my sister, she always texts me and be like, oh, do you have something for this? Or what about this? And I'm like, you know what? The University of Google is an amazing thing. This one app that she was looking for, I don't use it. So I had to Google it and find it for her. And I was like, it literally took me 2 minutes. I was like, Google it. Like, simple as it is, like, just Google it. But she's so used to coming to me for the answers. So it's like, it again comes back to the boundaries.
Well, because Lisa's always done it for me, right? It's super important to start to set up those boundaries, even in the family life. And I'm sure you could speak to examples in your own family life, whether it's a partner, a sibling, a parent, a friend who is needing time where it's okay to say, is this important or can it wait till tomorrow? I've actually declined certain invitations. I mean, if there's a wedding or there's a shower, or you know what, maybe I don't need to go because that was my dedicated time to work on X, whether it's self,
Mhm.
whether it's business, whatever that is. I know so many people that will give of themselves. They'll book a training course for themselves. Everybody will know that we've got that training class on Tuesday. My out of office says that I'm in training today, but of course this emergency will come up. Well, what's my boundary? Is do I want to stick to my boundaries and say I'll get to it tomorrow? Or do I now throw my hands up, give up on the training that I was so excited to do and take on that responsibility?
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest thing. It's like actually sticking to the boundaries. Like, yes, you can think about them all day long, but it's like sticking to it. Like, if it's emergency, okay, yes. But is there someone else that could do it for you? Or is it really an emergency? Like, if something happened with a client project and it was something that was impacting their results immediately, absolutely. I'm going to drop everything and I'll fix it. But if it's just a quick question about something that they're doing next month, like, sorry, but I have other things that I have to work on now. And obviously you have to watch how you're actually saying it to them. That's the biggest thing I've learned when setting boundaries. It's how are you explaining it? And you said to be honest with people, but instead of saying, no, I can't do that right now, and coming off kind of like passive aggressive, explain, hey, I'm really swamped right now with this, without downplaying it for them. So from a client perspective, I never like to say, hey, I'm busy with other clients, because that makes them feel, okay, I'm not important anymore. So it's, I'm doing something right now, or I can't give my full attention to you just a second. Can I do it tomorrow? Or can we talk tomorrow? It's all about the wording of how you say it too. That could make or break either the relationships that you have with people, or even how you feel at the end of the day. I'm sure we can all say there's definitely been times where we have been snappy, will snap back all of a sudden with, it doesn't matter if it's a partner, colleague, whatever. But if you get snappy, then all of a sudden after you kind of calm for a little bit or you come back a little bit later, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have reacted that way. So it's being intentional of how you're actually showing up for yourself, but also for your business and or your job.
I don't disagree. I think being transparent, which is hard. We talk about authenticity, we talk about integrity, but it's hard to admit when you've done something wrong. And I think that is so important because that is truly how you build relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
we've all been there, we've all gone through it. So anybody who genuinely cares is going to understand and say, I got it. I could tell you were extremely busy or something else was going on, and then I knew you couldn't give me your attention at that time. And I
Yeah.
think that it is so, particularly through COVID, because we started to really pull back from conversations. It was something that we started in the HR team where we weren't seeing each other, and we so missed that connection to know what each one of us was working on. So not only did we have our team call, but every so often we would just have what we would call coffee chat, and it was time to come and, hey Lisa, how's your daughter doing? Hey, what's been going on? Right? So you could have a conversation that wasn't work related, where you were still building those relationships, because those are key in times when you need support. And
Mm-hmm.
that community is what's going to lift you all up and make you all successful at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I've worked online for 8.5 years. So being behind a screen, whether that's a phone or a computer, you don't have the same relationships. Like even most of my clients are in the States or the UK. I've even had clients in Costa Rica. Like they're literally across the world that I can't actually go and hang out with them unless I took a plane ride, which would kind of be fantastic anyways. But it's, you can even have those communities online. So just like we're doing now, like we're on Zoom and we can still chit chat and you can still have the same, I'm gonna say, not gonna say same connection, but a similar connection. But I think it comes back to the conversations that you're actually having with someone. And people, especially the younger generation, they text all the time. They don't call each other. So it's like it's about the conversations that you're having outside of business related aspects, like you were saying, just chit chat, but it's also just making space for it. Because I feel
Yes.
like when you are so busy and you're just work, 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 that you forget to say, just send that text if you're thinking about someone, or call them if you have 2 minutes or 5 minutes. But or if you can, go for a walk, with them. But I find it's actually making the time that people struggle with the most.
Yeah, and I think especially when you have a team, it's important because you don't know what's going on in their lives if you're not having that communication with them. And you can help guide them. Now, I often talk about sometimes, and I hate using this term because it's a term I don't like, but it's leaving your personal stuff at the door sometimes when you come to work, right? We have a job to do, we're accountable to get X amount done, but we're still humans. And so understanding if Lisa knows that I'm having a really rough day or going through something in my personal life, I don't have to vent all day long and be super negative, but there's things that Lisa can do as a leader for me that help me to bring my best self forward, have that empathy and that compassion without it, like I said, without it being, hey, let's have 4 hours and talk about it and try and solve a problem that maybe you can't solve for, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
still going to emotionally impact somebody. And I think that's some personal growth that individuals really need to work on, especially since social media has come into play. You know, we all try to put on this facade of life is beautiful, life is perfect. And then it's hard to sometimes go behind the scenes and say, you know what, today was not a good day. But here's what I did about it, because I think those are the experiences and shares that help people overcome those things.
Yeah, I think social media has definitely removed people's emotions a little bit. You see the wins, you don't see all the struggles. Even like building a business, like no one's sitting there saying, yeah, it's 11 o'clock at night, but I'm still working, I'm still grinding. Or, hey, I had this awful client that I had to deal with today, and it just, this project happened and whatever. Like no one's saying the hard stuff. But think about your own life. If you're doing it, typically everyone else around you is going to be dealing with some other stuff, but it's how do you actually deal with it, like you said. And I think it all comes back to being transparent. It's like if you are having a bad day, tell the people that you are working with or working for or whatever capacity, because if they are I'm gonna say if they are empathetic humans, they will get it and they will try to some sort. But I know you said you don't like the term leave your personal stuff at the door. There is gonna be a time and place. And even for me, like I work with my husband. He's been working full time with me for almost 5 years now, which is wild. And there's definitely times where there's something happening in personal life, but then we're in a client meeting. Like we just gotta separate it for a sec.
Yes.
And doesn't mean that I'm gonna be mean to him on the call or whatnot. That's not professional, but it's just there's a time and a place, and just be open with the people that you are either having an issue with or that you're working closely with, that something is going on, so they know how to deal with it or how to handle certain things for you without them being like, well, what's wrong with her?
Right. Because you may not be in your full energy or as
Mhm.
conversational as you normally are. And that's why I think you, to your point, it's very important to be transparent. I hate that term, leave it at the door, is because I feel like everything blends nowadays, right? Work and
Mhm.
personal life do blend. But to your point, there's a distinction. At some point, it can't be water cooler conversation throughout the entire day because work has to get done. We are accountable to achieve certain things, meet client expectations, whatever that looks like, right? So that's a tough one. Maybe Lisa, share around how you build as an entrepreneur or personal growth into your world, and what does that look like? I know sometimes as an entrepreneur, because we're so busy helping our clients, it can be a struggle to find time for personal growth. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so going back to the whole goal setting thing, I am always setting goals for myself. So I don't necessarily care if it's January where I'm setting my goals, but I have goals that I know that I want to achieve for myself, which is outside of work. In order to achieve those goals, I break them down into like smaller goals to actually do it one step at a time. But just to give you an example from a personal growth side of things, reading, I mentioned before, it's super hard for me, but when I consume positive content, that works on me in a positive way. So I try to at least incorporate some sort of learning or consuming positive content outside of social media. I find social media isn't necessarily the best place for that, but also being a part of other groups. And other groups. So I'm a part of a mastermind. Yes, it is a work mastermind, but I have grown so much personally just being inside this mastermind. So it's who do I surround myself with? What am I consuming? And then what goals am I setting for myself? Those are really important. And also going back to the gym, there's no other way to really push yourself against yourself or compete against yourself besides the gym, in my opinion. I go in there every single day and I'm like, I'm going to give it everything that I can. I'm going to try to get better than the day before. And I feel like that for me, and I know this is different for everyone, but that is something that I know has a huge impact on myself personally.
Love that. Love that. That and surrounding yourself with people. We often talk about mentors, and I think that is such a beautiful way to grow. It doesn't have to be, I'm taking a course, right? Like if you look at the foundation of how we learn, you need hands on experience. And I think spending time with mentors or reading is a great way as well. I try to do reading. I've actually started going to some audiobooks so that while I'm walking, I can listen to audiobooks. Depends what my intention is for the walk. However, if it's to
Mhm.
clear my mind, I'm not cluttering it with an audiobook. So I've had to be very intentional with that. But I love the idea, and I've had the pleasure of being mentor to some individuals in the past. And the joy, sometimes people feel, and I've had actually one person say to me, I know you're really busy and I hate bothering you, but I was thinking to myself, you don't understand the joy that it brings me when I get to see you grow. It's like having another child, right? That you get to see grow in a career space and become really successful. So I love those ideas around personal growth. Thank you.
Yeah. And you know what? When you just say that that person said that, I know you're busy. That is like nails on a chalkboard to me because everyone is busy. And I always try to come off like I'm not too busy for you. And that's always been my thing. Is that's something that I really try, whether it's a client or a friend or a family member. That's what I want to put out there. But if every single person is busy, but they can't make time for you in a third capacity, is it what priority is it for them or for
Right.
you? So it comes back to, again, what is the space that you're holding for individuals? And have you, I don't want to say you have to block your calendar to talk to someone, but do you have room? Or if you have a schedule, like for instance, I have 3 things that I need to do every single day, not my non negotiables, but my to do list. Most people have a massive to do list. So then they get overwhelmed and they won't have the time, or they'll feel stressed if something just pops up or a friend calls or whatever. But if you can structure your day in a way that's less overwhelming for you, you will have more space to be able to give to other people.
I love how you talk about, because just prior to this call, we were talking about how Instagram went down. And I
Mhm.
was just ready to send something. And I was like, no, I thought it was my internet was down, right? So there's always going to be something that comes up. And I think to your point, the more you can control how much you attempt to get done in your day, because I used to be the laundry list. That's part of me being a people pleaser. Saturday I
Mhm.
had 20 things that I want to accomplish and I got 4 done. It's very self-defeating, right? But
It is.
it's when you pick the 3, these 3 are critical for me, and you schedule them, it allows for you to continue to foster that positive energy. And if you happen to get a 4th thing done, celebrate.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
woohoo, I got 4 things done today. I was rocking it. It's okay to say that. So maybe talk a little bit about how you, because it can be challenging to foster that positive energy when you're an entrepreneur, because there are some days where you feel very alone. What do you do, Lisa, to pick that up?
Mhm. Yeah, you can definitely feel alone in entrepreneurship, but from a celebration side of things, I definitely need to get better at this. So it's something that I'm still working on, but it's definitely celebrating when you hit goals. So I'm sure you can gather by now, I love goal setting. But once you actually hit a goal, celebrate it. And I actually asked this. So I have my online program, the Spotlight Theory, and I ask every single member who joins, how do they celebrate their goals? And what I like to do is at the end of the 12 weeks is so let's just say someone says, I will pop a bottle of champagne. I want to send them that champagne to make sure that they actually celebrate. So same thing with my own goals. It's like, okay, I have my big goal, then I break it down into small little chunks. I know when I hit a specific chunk or when I've checked something off my list, it's like, okay, I know that was a win. Now, when I'm saying do 3 things. It's not like do 3 minor things, like check my email, shower, eat food. Like, it's not like really basic things. Like, when I'm talking 3 things, I'm choosing big chunks within my day or within my goals. So instead of it being, I'm going to send an email to clients and that's my one thing, it's I'm going to work on this client's project and finish this portion of it. So it's maybe me spending an hour or 2 on this one chunk that I'm crossing off. But at the end of the day, when I have 3 massive chunks, or even let's say you move 3 massive boulders within your goal or the project or whatever you're working on, you're going to feel accomplished. When you have that list of 25 different to-dos, which I used to do that too, it's typically what people do is they write down the little steps that they have to take at the end of the day. So to clean your house, okay, I'm going to vacuum. I'm going to wash the mirrors. I'm going to wash the floor. I'm going to clean out my cupboards. Instead, just say, I'm going to clean my house. And that's one chunk. So that would be the biggest thing. But again, just being aware of those accomplishments that you want to have. And then again, actually choosing the time to celebrate it. It's so easy to be like, okay, goal done, next, goal done, next. So having someone to keep you accountable, even my husband, like I said, he works with me too. So it's when we achieve a goal together, I kind of rely on him. Hey, can you make sure that we go out for dinner and celebrate? Or can we do this? I put it out there, and then I am the type of busy person that says, "Oh, I don't have time to celebrate," so I rely kind of on him at this point, but having that accountability buddy, that definitely helps as well.
Yeah, I love that. I've been starting to do things like buy a potted plant when I achieve a
Mhm.
certain goal, or things like that. They don't have to be huge, but I think when you do something like that, or buy that favorite top that you wanted, that you've been eyeing, but it's a little bit out of your price range, and then you're able to
Mhm.
buy it. I think then when you look at it, you remember the achievement that you've accomplished in order to get there. And I think celebrating is so important, even if it just feels good, just sitting in the moment and being, like I said before, I rocked that. I got that done today. I've been trying to do more of that, because I find it puts you in an energy that makes you want to do more of similar.
Mhm.
So for an example, I've been doing a monthly newsletter. I've decided that I want it to be more educational than informative. So now, like, one of the things I'm doing is I've recorded a meditation that I'm going to link with it and send it out, so that it's providing something to people to make their lives better. And when I hit that send button, it feels so good that I'm just kind of like, okay, you know what? That felt really good. I'm just going to go and sit outside or whatever it is that I want to do. And I'm going to just be happy for what I've accomplished. and hope that people that receive it feel that way too. But I think it's important, especially like I said, as an entrepreneur, it can be lonely, right? So sometimes reaching out to individuals and just saying, hey, like I just wrote down, Lisa, you're going to get one from me. What goal did you hit and how are you celebrating? So you're going to get a text from me at some point in your life.
Perfect.
But I love doing those kinds of things because I think it's important, and we sometimes forget the people that are important to us in our lives. Life happens, and this is certainly one thing that I'm going to recognize myself for in the corporate world. I used to say to people, like, how often do you go up to somebody and say, "Hey, Lisa, you are an inspiration to me. You do X, Y, and Z, and I want you to know how important you are in my life, even though you may not know it. I'm watching you from afar." And I used to do that in the corporate world, and it's something I've brought into my entrepreneurial world. And I can't tell you how many people that I've heard back from that have said, you know what, I never thought of doing that and making somebody feel really good and realize how important they are in our lives. And I think it's so important, especially as leaders, for us to be appreciative of those we work with, whether they're colleagues, they're mentors, they're our team, whatever that is. Because if that individual wasn't there, it's too late to tell them at that point, right? So how do
Hmm.
we make sure that every once in a while, and it's got to be real, it can't be fake, but what is
Yeah.
it, that you can celebrate? And so finding somebody and even messaging them and just saying, hey, I was just thinking about you and wanted you to know that even though we haven't been in touch, I think of you often. Like little things like that, I think are going to shift the energy in this world because it needs shifting.
Well, it's like it's so easy just to be busy and say, "I'll do it later." So yesterday, actually, I thought of one of my best friends and I sent her a message. And it was like I could have easily been like, "Hey, I'm in a meeting right now. I'm gonna do this later." I didn't send it during the meeting, but I was rushing to a meeting. But I was like, you know what? It's literally gonna take me 2 seconds to send this message. And one, it's gonna make my emotions and everything transparent to her because I'm actually reaching out. But also, I hope that yesterday made her feel good too. It is so easy just to go, go, go. Even with your team, it's like, okay, project done, next, project done, next.
Yeah.
I keep going. But if you can just take a second and be like, wow, you did an awesome job, doesn't have to be this big thing. Just you did an awesome job. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I see you, whatever it is that you want to say to them.
Yeah.
That could literally change someone's life. And especially with social media, it's so easy. Like you said before, you feel like you're stalking me on social media and you know what's going on in my life, but we haven't actually talked in a while. So it's like with social media, it's made it so easy to know what's going on without actually having a conversation with people. So people just assume, well, I know what she's up to. I know what her life looks like. Well, actually, you don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes unless you actually talk to me or ask me. So it's looking at social media as that high level brochure of what's going on in someone's life, but then taking it upon yourself to actually reach out and build that relationship. And even with social media, I remember this is actually when I first started my business, before I even quit my corporate job at this point. I started posting on Facebook. Instagram wasn't even a thing. So I was posting on Facebook all the time, like, is anyone even seeing my content? Is anyone even paying attention? Is this even helping anyone? And I was in a mindset one day and I was just like, hey, this isn't working. Like, I don't know if it's worth it anymore. And I got a message from a complete stranger saying, "Thank you for posting today. You're the reason I got out of bed."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
How
just
beautiful.
by her, yeah, literally. And if she didn't reach out to me that day, I have no idea if I would still like or even started my business. Like, no idea.
Yeah.
But that message alone transformed one, me, my life, but also I'm so glad to know that what I was putting out there, it actually helped her. And she was a complete stranger, not even someone that I knew. So there's so much more power just by sending that one quick message than you even realize.
Yes, yes, I can't disagree at all. Like there's so many times where people have reached out, whether it's through a podcast, through just something that I posted on LinkedIn or social media elsewhere, where individuals, I mean, a lot of people like it, but when you, to your point, when somebody messages you or responds to you, it makes a world of difference. And I mean, isn't that what we're all here to do, anyways, is make a
Yeah.
difference, right?
And it's like, why is it so hard? That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like, why is it so hard for people to actually do? And it's because we're busy. We
Yes.
live in this fast moving world, and it's like, just take a second. If you're listening today and you're thinking of someone right now, pause us and actually just send that message because it could change their life.
I don't disagree at all. And it doesn't have to be anything verbose, to your point, and nothing emotional. It could just be, I just want you to know I was thinking about you and you mean the world to me, or I would love to catch up and have a coffee, or whatever that looks like. I always say it's come in your mind because the universe has put it in there because that person needs to hear it at that moment. So
Hmm.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
um,
wild how impactful that can actually be.
oh, very powerful, very powerful. So maybe, we're talking a little bit about the personal side, thank you. But also when we talk about leadership side, whether corporate, whether you're a leader of yourself, whether it's your personal life, whether it's an entrepreneur, the landscape in today's world I often talk about is so fast paced and ever changing. It's hard for people sometimes to keep up, right?
Hmm.
And I think there's that adaptability and agility that are so crucial for success. How do you, in your world, create that culture of being able to innovate, being able to adapt within your world, whether it's your
Hmm.
business, your personal life? What does that look like for Lisa?
I mean, definitely in the digital world, I have to be able to adapt and change relatively quickly because platforms and even how we use social media and everything, we change quickly. I think it's more of a mindset thing. People get scared of change. People get scared of doing something different. And if you can turn that and say, instead of it being scary, this is exciting. And if you can look at it from that lens of, oh, I get to learn something new today, or oh, this is something new that I never imagined that I could have done, you are always going to take something positive out of any change, whether it's going to be good or bad. Yes, you may not see it right in the forefront, but when you are actually looking at it down the road, you're gonna be like, oh, that is the reason why I am here today, or that is the reason why I act this way, or some sort of situation for you. But it's the mindset shift for sure, but also, as I'm sure everyone can gather, I'm a very structured person, very type A person. So I like to have it my way. And this is the process, or this is the structure that I have. But it's also just learning that it's okay to adapt and it's okay to make the changes. And if something's not working right now, tweak it. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel completely. I like to follow the structure of minor tweaks is going to help you grow and grow and grow. So instead of just saying, okay, this isn't working, throw it in the trash, it's okay, let's look at what is working, what is not working, take what is working, and now let's tweak what's not working. And then you'll just consistently grow. And that is something that, like, the structure that I follow with my agency and with all my clients, I've been running the exact same structure for 8.5 years on how to generate leads online. Nothing has changed besides the front end strategy of how we have to behave on social media because I have the foundation and I just tweak and tweak and tweak. So a lot of people are like, nope, throw it in the trash, start over, we're doomed. What's going to happen? It's like, well, no, you have something that's working right now, hopefully, and then it's the minor tweaks that help.
I love that because, when you think about just making those minor tweaks in this world, I think a lot of people don't go back and revisit, right? So, to your point, I think those are the individuals that throw it in the trash when they don't revisit it. They just say it didn't work. There's a reason it didn't work, or there are
Mm-hmm.
elements that did work, and so understanding those are going to make you successful. What are your clients saying? What is the world saying, right? Depending on what your service is or what your product is. I think there's always a better way to leverage what you've got or what you wish to share. And I think people don't take the time to do what I call the ROI, right? What's your return on
Mm-hmm.
investment? So I've created something beautiful, and if it's not moving, it's not because it's not wanted. There's a reason, because everything is of value. And I love how that's learning even a little bit from your mistakes. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes things like when my workshops don't sell out, if I really sit back and look at it going, well, I really only advertised it 3 weeks before the workshop
Mm-hmm.
launched, was probably not enough time, because you know what? Not everybody's on social media every day.
That's the thing.
So,
Yeah. And like
right?
there's always going to be a reason why something didn't work out, but what did work, okay? So the promotion that you did, even though it was a smaller time frame, yes, it was working. So what if you just extend it next time for 4 weeks? So like again,
Right.
those minor tweaks. But another thing is there's gonna be a starting point and then there's gonna be where you want to go. Let's just say B. there are so many different routes that you can go or different paths that you can take to get there. So what works for me isn't necessarily the path that you absolutely have to take. It's not the only path that's going to get you to B. So it's also being okay to make your own path. And I feel, especially with social media, especially with the internet, like everything is literally in the palms of our hands that we can figure out someone's method. That method may not be right for you, and it's okay to acknowledge that. And it doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong.
Right. And I think asking people, I think brainstorming, you talk about people pleasing, but there's the perfection side of things too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where even as owners of our businesses, we are CEOs of what we do. We still need to brainstorm with people or ask people their opinion or get feedback from people. There's nothing wrong with running an idea past colleagues or friends
Mm-hmm.
or a team. I think when we become perfectionists, we're afraid to ask for input or feedback. And so when we become vulnerable to that, and I had to pull it up. That's what I was looking for really quickly. There was a post that I posted on LinkedIn, and it says, if you don't mistakes, you aren't really trying. And ironically, one of the people that posted a comment to that was Richard Branson. And you think
Oh,
about what he's done in his world, and you think about he hasn't been successful just because of him. He really believes in bringing a team together and saying, okay, well, how do we make this better? What are some of the pain points? And so when we leverage each other's knowledge that way, it can become so powerful because guaranteed, if you're thinking it, somebody else is thinking it too.
absolutely. And it just, even thinking back into the perfectionist, one of my referral partners, he said to me, because I said, "Oh, I'm a perfectionist." He's like, "I want you to change that. And instead of striving for perfection, strive for excellence." And it's like, even that shift of a mindset, it's like, "Oh, yeah." Like, I like, that's exactly what I said to him. I was like, "I like that." Because, like, perfection, you're never going to hit perfection, but you can hit excellence. And when you hit excellence, you're going to feel good. And then you're going to want to just keep going. And it all goes back to just, it's the endorphins at the end of the day that you're getting when you're achieving goals or getting a good result for a client or whatever it is for you. It's like, if you're going to always strive for perfection, you're not going to hit it, unfortunately. And that's recovering people pleaser and recovering perfectionist over here. That is who I am. So I am speaking from experience. You're not going to hit it. Even from a numbers person, like, I run digital marketing campaigns. So literally all the numbers are in front of me. What is working? What's not working? And I'm always constantly tweaking to get better and better results. Do you think I ever get 100% results for every single client? No, you will never see 100% on a funnel or an email open rate or anything like that. It's like, it's very, very hard to achieve those results. But if I'm only striving to achieve that 100%, I'm going to get close. Yes, absolutely. But what is that? What is that threshold that puts me into excellence?
Yes. I love that. I love that around excellence. You know what? You've just taught me something because I've been working on how do I put out. So I'm kind of person that I won't put something out unless it's deemed perfect by me. Doesn't mean it's
Mhm.
perfect for whoever is going to be watching it, viewing it, part of it, right? But
Yeah.
when we look for perfection, to your point, which we never achieve, then we never will put ourselves out there. We'll never release an idea or a product. And so that's how we learn how to make things better. So I love that, striving for excellence.
And
Definitely
even
want
with
to do.
social media, like with social media, a lot of the times people are like, "Oh, I can't put out this video until I have a professional videographer," whatever the case may be. You'd be surprised, the stuff that you spend 2 minutes on or even 30 seconds on is going to perform better than the stuff that you spend hours or days on.
Yeah. Because it's not the look, it's the message, right? And so same thing when I started, when I was coaching, I did the same thing where I didn't like to go on camera because I was like, oh, I'll just show nature or whatever. Where now I'm like, it is what it is. This is part of life. This is part of the real experience. And so if I'm not looking great one day, well, you know what? Everybody has their days where they don't feel good. And so if that can be an inspiration to somebody to say, it still means that you're of value, that you have worth, that you can be loved, that is just so beautiful. And I think that striving for that excellence in life. I always say, what's my legacy going to be at the end of the day? I don't want to have regrets, but what am I going to be remembered for? For that photo shoot that
Mhm.
I did or for the message and the change that I made in somebody's life?
I love that. Yeah, it's all about the legacy at the end of the day. we're all not going to be here forever, and that's just the reality of it. So, what impact do you want to make right now? And then just go make that impact. Stop being so worried about what's on the front end.
That's right. So hit those non-negotiables. Figure out what those are.
Exactly.
And they can change. It's okay. They don't have to stay engraved in stone. They can change. Because
Yeah.
as we evolve, our non-negotiables are going to change, just like as you grow, your business grows with you and you change what you do and how you do it. So, Lisa,
Mhm.
is there anything else that you wanted to share with our listeners before we wrap up today's conversation?
No, I would just say if anything is resonating with you right now, actually implement it. I know how many times like you read something or you listen to something, you don't actually do anything about it. One of my students within my program, she called it a shelf book instead of a help book or a self-help book. It's a shelf book, and it's because people read it and put it back on the shelf and they do nothing. So that would be my biggest encouragement, is just like, if it's sending that message, if it's choosing what your non-negotiables are for the day, if it's actually just scheduling in your calendar 5 minutes for you to sit there and have a coffee, do something for yourself today. And that is going to be something that you want to make a habit, and it's going to go a long way from your personal life, business life, whatever it is for you, it's going to make an impact.
Lisa, that was well said. I'm not even going to add to that. That was beautiful. You're such an inspiration. Like I said, I was so excited when you said that you had time to come onto the podcast, because I truly admire what you've accomplished in your world and in your life. Lisa's also got some offers and freebies, so I'm going to let you talk a little bit about it, and I'll make sure that I include the link in our show notes.
Amazing, absolutely. So, if you want to set up systems, one of the biggest systems that I believe that you should set up, again, whether this is an entrepreneur or a business owner, or you're a CEO of a company, or just an employee of a company, something that every single person needs is an email list, and that is going to be one of the biggest systems that you can build within your business. So I do have a full guide that I walk through exactly how you can build an email list, set it all up. So I will link that for you, or get Caroline to link that for you in the show notes. And if you are interested in learning more about digital marketing and really how to leverage online tools for your own benefit for your business, check out my podcast. It's the More Than Social podcast. I throw a lot of tips in there, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs who give away a lot of tips as well. So would love to have you join that community. But besides that, thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you for listening, everyone. And I hope I sparked some new habits within your daily
And
life.
some excellence. Strive
Exactly.
for
And some
excellence.
excellence.
I love that, and I'll make sure I include your link to your podcast. I just enjoy listening to it. This is how I stalk Lisa. Lisa's got a wealth of knowledge, and if you even just need inspiration, certainly listen to Lisa, because there are times where you feel you're not doing it right, or there's more to work than what's needed. There's an episode in there that you can listen to. So thank you so
Amazing.
much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's all for this episode of today's Balanced Leader. I hope you've enjoyed the discussion on wellness and leadership, and that you took away some valuable insights and strategies to help you become a better leader in your own life. Please leave a rating and review. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the next one, as we continue our exploration of what it means to live life as today's leader. In the meantime, take care of yourself, and remember that true leadership starts with taking care of your own well-being. One deep breath in and one deep breath out. Keep striving for excellence and inspiring others to do the same. And finally, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Today's Balanced Leader.